Hey, Pastor Dean Comerford here, Gympie.Church Online. What a privilege it is to be with you this Saturday morning. I don't know what you did during this week, but one of the things I did was have a conversation with a guy. He was actually a tradesman who had to come to my house and do some work. And we got talking about the coronavirus crisis, as you do. And I said to him that it's all Jesus' fault, you know. And he was like, how can you blame Jesus for this? Which I was very excited about because he's not a Christian and he was upset that I'd blamed God for this. And I said, well, it's like this, you see. I said, you know, if we go back 500, 1,000 years, there were plagues that used to go through the world and people died in big numbers. You know, in Europe, in the Black Plague, a third of all of Europe died as a result of it. And so I said, the very fact that today we have literally shut down the planet because this plague is going through the earth, I said, it's because of Jesus. And he says, how do you figure? And I said, well, it's because of the truth of God's word that has been built into our culture since those times that we're responding the way we are. Passages like this one from Genesis 1:27 that talks about how we're made in the image of God. That truth has become part of our culture. And whilst many in our culture no longer understand that, they don't necessarily even believe that truth has become foundational to our culture. And the fact that we've shut down the planet is because we're trying to protect lives. Why? Because lives are important. They may not understand why life's important, but it's because that truth and truths like it from God's word have become part of our heritage and who we are. And so we're shutting down our culture to save the lives, particularly of our elderly, particularly of our more vulnerable folk. You know, the very fact that we even know how to respond to this virus is because of other truths, like this one here in Romans chapter 1, verse 20, which talks about how God has made his creation plain and visible for us to see. And you go back in history once again, 400 or 500 years, all of a sudden Christian men and women started investigating how God created the world. How did the human body work? How did the universe work? And all the sciences became out of Christian inquiry, out of a sense of wanting to understand who God was and how he had created the world. And so today we not only understand how to combat a virus like coronavirus, we understand how to wash our hands and the importance of social distancing. We understand how germs are spread. Why? Because of science. Why has science made such a difference? Because the gospel of Jesus, the truth of God's word, told us that God had made us and that what he had made was plain and visible. And people began to ask, how is that? Do you know the very fact that I can talk to you today through this camera that's in front of me, over the internet, possibly to a device like a phone, is because those same scientists and their inquiry led to other scientists and other inquiry. And today we live in this technologically advanced world where we understand disease, we have incredible communication ability, and we still value human life. Now, I know in other parts of our culture, we're beginning to devalue human life and have been for a number of years now. And that's a real tragedy. We need to pray and act against those things. But even though many people in our culture have abandoned God, the truth of God and the truth of the gospel of Jesus still informs what we're being and doing. And so today maybe you'd like to spend some time reflecting on Genesis chapter 1. Spend some time in Psalm 139, how fearfully and wonderfully made we are. Spend some time in passages like Romans chapter 1, thinking about how God has made it abundantly clear to us how he has made the world. A number of the Psalms talk about that as well. So maybe find some passages like that and just reflect on those throughout this day, that you might have a greater understanding of the gospel and the truth of God that makes up part of our culture and is informing exactly how we respond to this thing today. And then give praise and thanks to God for that. Hey, have a wonderful day. Stay at home, stay safe, but stay connected. Listen, tomorrow we've got a Palm Sunday service. I want to invite you to come along to that. We're looking forward to that and to being with you, 10 a.m. Come in a little bit early. We'll have a little bit of coffee and chat, and then the service will begin at 10. It would be fantastic. Next week we've got a whole lot of stuff planned for Easter week. Thursday night, a beautiful communion service. Friday morning, a Good Friday service. And Sunday, a resurrection service, a celebration, as much as we can, with 2 people on stage at a time. So please look after yourselves, look after each other. It's been a privilege to be with you today. God bless.